That's awesome. My kids are all grown up. They all have professional jobs. They're kind of boring, I'm not gonna lie. All right, welcome to Hit and Sit show number 37. Oh shoot! Oh, I gotta change my hat. Sorry about that, guys.
Rosmondo.
Yeah, sorry about that. Hit and Sit show number 37. It's April 3rd. We are just 2 days away from the Las Vegas Major to open the 2024 conference season. Joining me on the panel, I'm DW from conferenceussa.com. Don't forget to go to that site daily. New stuff every day of the year. On the panel, Don Cooper from Rawlings, also manager of Derby Girls for over a decade, and selected Team USA manager again. Congratulations. Don, real quick, I just wanted to ask, has Team USA ever lost a game?
Yeah, we lost the very first border battle. We lost to Canada. That's the only game we lost that weekend. That's the only game we've lost, knock on wood. Hope you didn't jinx us with that, D-Dub. That's the only game we've lost in the 7 years of it or whatever. But we actually lost the initial border battle.
Yeah, when I put down Team USA coach, which was just announced like in the last 2 weeks, I was like, I don't think they've ever lost a game, but I guess they did. We also have regulars, Josh Kirsten, Swing Sun Coast. He's playing center field, I assume, for Nitro Circus this year. Yeah, Kirsten's out of Ohio. And we have Joel Sanchez, shortstop, new team this year, Sports Reach. Actually, you're returning to Sports Reach. You swing the D, and we'll get right into it. Las Vegas Major. We'll go around the room real quick. Just tell me about your off season real quick and how your team's looking and when you get started with the 2024 season. We'll go with Don first.
Well, we're old, so we take as long as we can during the off season to even think about it. So we'll start. Everybody flies tonight. We'll work out all day tomorrow, and the season will start. So, I don't put a lot of value in early stuff. It's just get ready. So it's stay healthy, try not to die, and see where you are at the end of the year. And especially when you have a roster like ours, we have older players, so you kind of have to take that into consideration.
Yeah, Derby Girls starting out in Las Vegas. There's 20 women's teams. I believe it's 12 conference. Derby Girls and La Familia, who's now called Monsta/La Familia, is the other major team. So we're looking for some big battles out there between those two teams. Hopefully, could end up being a best of three, right? At the end of the day, Josh, new team, new colors. Tell us about your team and your off season.
Yeah, no, off season was great. Not a whole lot going on. Got to spend a lot of time with the families. Played in a few different tournaments. Got the chance to go overseas and play in Spain, which was really cool. but yeah, new team. Playing with some guys I've played with in the past with Flip and John Williams, Kyle Street, which is great. Can't wait for that. And a bunch of new guys, a bunch of younger guys that played with Smash It last year, trying to make a name for themselves and have done a great job so far in that. And so really excited to get to play with them this weekend and see how we gel and start that process. And Vegas is always an interesting one. It's one that some people hate to go to start the season because it's not a real true kind of setting the table in regards to how the fields play and all that going into the duel. But it's always nice to get to play with the guys and start building that chemistry and that camaraderie. So I'm most excited about that, and obviously just the chance to compete. So I just got a little 18. Nothing crazy. We're definitely not as stacked as Sports Reach, and so we'll see what we can do.
The World Tournament, it was called the World Championship. It was a USSSA event in Spain, Barcelona, I believe. Tell us about, I just saw briefly on the live stream, how big was the main field? Was it a baseball field?
Yeah, it was big. It was like the Osceola we used to play at the duel and what have you for the stadium field. So it was 330 down the lines, 375 in the gaps, and 400 to center. And we were using a pro end ball, so we weren't using a stadium or even a hardcore there. So you had to touch it to get it out for sure. But it was a lot of fun. I thought it was really well ran. Really, you get to experience a lot of different levels of play, and then military presence was amazing. I loved hanging out with the military guys, get to know them and play with those guys. They've got a lot of love for the game, and it doesn't always get seen. So it was really cool to play with those guys and see that.
And so the rules, I believe we sent over our D World champs, right, from the U.S. And then
they were invited, but they didn't make it.
2 guys.
They were invited, but they didn't make it from what I was told. Yep.
So the teams there were allowed to pick up 2 higher level players. Was that the rule?
My understanding was they were able to pick up 1 major or watch list player. And then I don't. So we had Danny Olvera, who's a pitcher for last year. He pitched a little bit for OSR. This year he's pitching for the team name is escaping me, but it's Brandon Miller. The team. Yeah. And then S2B had been done and Billy Maggard. So I'm not 100% sure on the rules in terms of post after the major player, major watch list player, but it was limited. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Interesting international championship there. Joel, new team this year. Tell us about your off season in your new team that you're actually returning to. You played with Sports Reach back in maybe 2017 or 16.
I think it was 19 because I had started that year with B&B, and we might have went 0-2 for the first 4 tournaments, but we were 8-0 in bar fights, I'll tell you what. And then I went over to Sports Reach, and man, they gave me a swear jar right out of the gate. And then we got 3rd at A Worlds, which I didn't even know what a Worlds was. It was my first time ever. These guys take stuff up pretty serious. And then I ran into Elvin, and I didn't know serious till I ran into him. So he's gonna take a little break this year. So then I went back to Sports Reach because everyone on that squad, it's hard to not have a relationship with that I played with against the whole time. Especially my boy Joey Kempfer and Rocco Baldo. Those are just my brothers in different colors, So it's just I'm going to a very familiar, as well as I'm really sick of losing to Precision and Sports Reach. So it's about time I joined them.
You joined them with Camphor and Roccabaldo. Would you say you filled up the swear jar back in 2019? Was it full at the end of the season?
No, there wasn't a big enough swear jar for your boy. I'll tell you what. I made good old Robbie Spear nervous every time we talk about the Old Testament.
Robbie Spear, I get the daily text. Text.
No,
how's Alvin Herring? Have you talked to Alvin? We're gonna miss that guy this year.
He is the toughest of the tough. You could play for Elvin, you could play for anybody. There's nobody that makes you feel like you can. He swears we could play against the Yankees and we'll beat the stuffing out of the Yankees. He'll look at us and we'll be like, what are you guys doing? Play your game. And he brings out the best of you, whether it be by fear or manipulation, but you play your game out there. That's why everybody that's ever left him, everybody's like, oh, this dude could play. You can't play for Elvin. He'll let you know right there that weekend, like, hey, you out, son. Like he's tough. So like now,
he's got the quick pull on the pitchers too. But
no
hey, everyone has their own style of managing. And speaking of managers, Don Cooper, one of the best in the game. Las Vegas. Women playing in Las Vegas, to me, is the best place for them, right? Because the fences are a little smaller. Do you like playing in Las Vegas? And who are maybe some of the new teams in Vegas or players to look out for? And I'm going to pull up the women's bracket here on my screen if Bernie can share it while Don talks.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think Vegas, I think BLDs as a whole play really well for women. I think BLD should be banned for men over D. I mean, you know, as Joel said, or as Josh said, you know, you go there because you don't want to go to the duel from the men's side and not have some games under your belt so that your arms don't fall off and your legs don't fall off, but you don't learn anything there. You, as a men's team, you go there and hope to get out of there healthy. You hope to not carry your pitchers out of there on a stretcher. You know, it's just not, it's never been, from the day they built it, it was never built for this level. You know, I mean, it's not really built even, I don't even think it's built for B, if we're honest. We play a lot of 50 and 55 down there. It's not even built for that anymore. So for the women, I couldn't agree more, D-Dub. It's a perfect park for it. You know, some of the lower teams will say no, because it definitely helps teams with power, but it is a fun game. But it also brings some of the teams that have some mid-range power into it, where you put those teams in heat in a big park, their power disappears. You know, it shows up there.
Yeah, taking a look here at the bracket, Derby girls, #1 seed. You won the conference points last year. Opposite side of the brackets, Monza, La Familia. Is there any other, trouble spots that you see here in the bracket? An up and coming team. I like the Rogue.
I think Rogue. I love Rogue. I love what they've put together. John Stevens, supporter of U-Trail, he umpired even and did different things. I mean, he has hustled all winter long. One of the things we see with the women, and I think, Joel and Josh know this because they've worked their way up. They didn't start on Dan Smith on day one. Is a lot of these women are running car washes right now and bake sales and buying their own tickets and staying 6 and 8 and 9 girls in a room. They got 3 total rooms booked for the weekend, and that's how I started in softball. So some of these guys now that have lived the life, it's a little different, man. We were happy if we had a hotel that had inside doors. You were in Motel 6s. Right. 10 deep, parking your car right out in front, backed up to the door, so your bat bags didn't get stole. So a guy like that who's grinded it out, I really respect it. I think he's got a heck of a roster. That Camara Washington can flat out play. I think she's the future of what's going on defensively, and she's figuring out her offense real quick. You've got, for the first time probably ever in the women's game, you got 2 really monster big budget clubs, with the La Familia Monza team and S&I. They basically went out and took who they wanted and did what they wanted. So, I think it'll be interesting to see how they do. And it's always interesting with a team like La Familia, who, Tom's done a nice job over there, ran that team his way. It's his culture, his way. And now you merge a whole half a roster from another team that I'm sure ran their team their way. And I'm sure Josh and Joel have been a part of that. When you merge cultures, sometimes it clicks and it works on day one, and sometimes you can be in September and y'all still hate each other. So you never know how culture clicks. So I think, on paper that's there. My auto jack, never take lightly. The NTL group, which I was super happy to see come back. DW, we were told they were shutting down, and Tommy has one of the longest running teams, men or women. I mean, they go back to Classic Glass's starting days. So, I mean, Tommy's been doing this for almost 30 years. So the fact that they put it back together and kept it together was great. So, I mean, I think that's, it's top loaded, but you never know when this stuff starts, how it's going to play, and especially this early in the year. But, Rogue, I think, is going to shock everybody all year long.
Yeah, I think Rogue starts the year to be determined classification. Yeah. We don't have any AA teams, so maybe they fill that slot. Derby girls, obviously, Monster, top loaded, expected to win, but it's definitely a strong regional California, Nevada.
Well, the women's program's West Coast, D-Dub. I mean,
That's
10,
true.
10, 10 teams live out here, and there would be more teams if I could convince a couple people to adjust the schedule. So, I mean, it's kind of the converse of the men's program, right? I mean, you've got 10 of the 21 teams are West Coast based, and if you look at the roster, like Rogue, I would say 50% of Rogue's roster are West Coast players, and a couple of the other teams land that way. So, and I know of 7 or 8 additional teams that would join the conference tomorrow if we did some schedule adjustments.
Yeah, and shout out to Tom Wingard. I was in Texas last year for the duel, and the second Sunday of the tournament. So they've already played for 3 days, going into the 4th day. Tom's got them out there at 8 a.m. They're running a practice like a girls 16U fast pitch team. They got girls in stations. They're doing drills. Like it was impressive. I'm not going to lie.
No, and it works for them. I mean, especially because he's got young players, and you got to manage that a little bit, and that's where we talk about culture. Does that culture work for everyone? So
right.
He's done an amazing job. And then, like I said, the most interesting team in the whole year will be 24, because they kind of got the carpet pulled out from half of them, but they kept the best player in softball in Chelsea Showers. And, you've got Amber Parrish there, and you can like Rodney. I think Rodney and I have a lot in common. You can like us or hate us. The fact is Rodney wins, and he knows what he's doing. And it's the toughest guy to coach against because he gets more out of what he's got. He motivates those girls. They're loyal to him as you can imagine, as you saw when the big money split their team and some of their top talents said, I'm going to stay with my guy. And he picked up a bunch of young, hungry kids off of Dirty. I think that's going to be one of the most interesting teams when you put a guy like that who always, and I say this with the utmost respect, always has a chip on his shoulder to begin with. Now you've given him 4 more legitimate chips to stack on his shoulders. The whole conference may have their handful with them.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed watching his son play in the NCAA postseason as well. We're going to move on to Josh. Josh, Nitro Circus, the only AA team in the Las Vegas Major. Have you ever won the Las Vegas Major? How do you think your team will do on the small fields? There's usually a lot of upsets. And what are the advantages and disadvantages of starting a men's team in Las Vegas prior with just the Hall of Fame Classic just a few days away?
Yeah, no, never won the Vegas. 2 years ago was the closest. Took second to Resi. Yeah, I mean, listen, like when you're playing any small fields, and Vegas is no exception, obviously, plays a little smaller than most of the fields that we play on. It's anyone's ball game. It's an equalizer. Like you play on small fields, you take the power aspect out of the game because almost anyone can hit a home run, especially with the way the weather looks like this weekend, with it being a little chilly. Those balls are going to absolutely fly. So home run limits, it's just not going to be a factor for most teams, and you're going to see a lot of people hitting home runs. I'm sure you'll probably see high scores. So it's really just whoever's on their best game that weekend, and coming together as a team. Because for most teams, we'll say conference teams, maybe not these local teams, it's the first weekend that everybody gets to play together. And so I think that's really probably the only like pro or advantage of playing in Vegas, is that we get to play together, is that you get to start gelling and you start getting to know each other and you get that chemistry going. Because at the end of the year, right, talent is certainly a factor when it comes to winning, but chemistry, I think, in my opinion, from what I've seen in years past and teams that I've been on, chemistry trumps. And if you're gelling, if your team's gelling, you guys are getting along, and you know that you have each other's back, that can move mountains, so to speak, right? Like that's going to come out ahead at the end of the day. And honestly, it's what the best teams have done really well in the past.
Would you think any players are going to do anything between the Vegas and the Hall of Fame? Massages, ice baths, like, do players do that kind of stuff?
Yeah, they're going to fly home and then get on a flight and go right to Florida. Honestly, we've got some guys I think are flying straight from Vegas to Florida. Like they're not even going
I thought about it myself. Yeah.
I mean, I can't speak for everybody. I know I'm a typical like cold plunge every morning type of guy. So that's something I'll do. I invested in some of those leg compression, like those, that blow up there and compress and what have you for recovery purposes. So I'm excited about that. But it's like the kind of like Coop said, you hope to get out of there with no injuries, and but you get some ball under the belt, and then get ready in next couple of days to just turn around and play in the duel.
Yeah, it looks like 212 points, if my math is correct, for the men and 228 for the women on the line in Vegas. Joel, we're going to take a look here at the bracket. If Bernie can bring that up for the viewers at home. What do you see here, Joel, that stands out? And have you ever played Vegas? I think S&E was out there one time.
Yeah. Once upon a time, we also got second. We almost we lost Mr. Andy Purcell and the Bad Draw squad in the last game. We almost double dipped them. That would have been one of those like story tournaments I never stopped talking about, you know.
Interesting fact, no non-major team has ever won Las Vegas men's major. So this will be the first year.
Oh, this will be the first one. I love you, Kirsten, but if you guys can't keep the ball in, that's going to be your only problem. Like, sure. I think that's your only thing. Other than that, the only people you got to worry about is LSR and like, is Beachy's going to be there?
Yeah, they're called I-57.
Yeah, Beachy's, I-57 Reaping, yeah. Beachy's, nice. They're coming in hot. Those dudes, they got that Mitch Carragher, who's a pitcher, that little lefty swing. Those cats are dangerous. And I love the small fields because, like, don't get me wrong, the obvious, anybody can hit it out of there, blah, 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 the small fields. But the thing is, what's weird about it is most of the AA teams, when it's a small field, some cats turn into aim small, miss small. So it's almost easier to hit your 3-4 hole, 5-6 hole like that. And when you're in Vieira, you go up to bat and you look at your dugout and you're like, oh my goodness, where is anyone cheering for me? Like, you feel like you're in a desert by yourself at home plate and you can't hear and your own team and nothing. Vegas, you feel like everyone's on your back and you're like, this is great. I love this. So it's like it's exactly what Kirsten said. It's an equalizer. Like, if you can't keep them in, I see you not passing the fourth inning, and then all the other cats. It's a great opportunity for all those West Coast.
Yeah,
it's
an opportunity for an A team to steal 200, right? Because in the past, A teams have made runs against the AA teams. But this year, if you look at the rosters, there's a lot of AA players on those A teams.
Yeah,
so
Vegas,
I think, on paper, the A teams are the best they've ever been, right? Since AA came along.
The past 2, maybe 3 years, AA and A has been out of control. The past 3 years, I don't even think if you put the major teams in the AA worlds, they wouldn't win the AA worlds. Like, it's been so heavy, the competition. Like, and like, honestly, haven't we been striding for that? You know, we've been striving for the competition to get better, and you gotta be better. Like, I don't know. It's like, unless you could just hang out in your own league ball squad and win every season 57-0, you know? So it's like, I enjoy going out there and playing against the best and trying to see what I'm about. And like, I like that idea. I mean, it's a little strange that no major teams came out there this year, but that tournament is usually the funk. It's usually the best to watch constantly. Like, it's always a lightning show.
I think the major teams didn't go because the Hall of Fame starts 4 days later, and they know they're gonna play a dozen games or more, right? Yeah. Every one of those major teams is gonna play a dozen games or more. Looking at the bracket, if you're a fan at home, JK Inc.'s a young team out of California. Classy's an A team out of Arizona. It's got some ex-conference players on it. I think I'm missing another. There's another A team in there.
One thing on JK, D-Dub, to call out sponsors, because we all need them. One of the best sponsors that's ever walked the face of the earth. If you look at what he spent on 30s, 40s, and 50s and senior ball, legitimately we all know we need sponsors. That dude is one of the best of all time.
Yeah, JK Inc. Big on the senior side too, I think. Cutthroat's a B team out of California. Bay Area Legends has retooled with a lot of upper level experience, as well as LSR, Dirty Vegas, Cheap Suits. We're going to move on to segment 3. I think we might have lost Joel there for a second. Hopefully he's coming back. I call this segment the bulletin board material segment, right? Because every year I say something during this segment where we rank the teams, and I hear about it for the next 6 months. I hear about, oh, you ranked us this, you ranked us that. So we're going to try to get down to the top 18 teams who we think are going to make the major. We're going to go division by division. And we're going to start with the major division. Josh, you've been in the major division a couple of years, playing a little AA this year, but we'll start with you on the major division. If Bernie can share my screen, I'm going to do a real quick rundown of the 4 major teams. Rismondo, All-American based out of Florida. Hopefully you guys are sharing the screen. You can see that.
Yep.
They're bringing back the world champs who also won all of the big tournaments last year, right? They won Vegas, smallest field. They won the biggest field, the major. They won at the Hall of Fame. They won at the Smoky. They won in Myrtle Beach. So they're bringing back basically everybody, right? And they add Bubba Mack back at third base. And I'm sorry, Matusik, who's one of the best stadium players in the game. Hopefully he's going to be all right. He's coming off that hand injury or wrist injury. So they're obviously the favorites, but we'll get to that in a minute. Sonny's Worsham Red Athlete, based out of Wyoming. Sonny Pilcher, Steve Hildebrand running the show. They bring back most of their guys. They lose Matusik. They do pick up a pitcher in Bill Pinkham from MPT. They pick up Daniel Caton from MPT. Tyler Story should take the next step. Yates is back. Magnum, Steele Lewis, Josh Fife. So my question to the panel real quick, does anyone know who Jason Leopard is? And then Kenneth Kane's a backup pitcher.
No,
no one knows? No, I don't either. So I think some of these teams are actually picking up runners now, like really fast guys to do the running.
It's a good strategy.
Yeah. So original Kyle Pearson also joining the team. He's always a solid player. Rufex moves up, AA champs. They bring their core, the guys from Indiana, Ohio, Terry Lambright, the Fry brothers, the Millers, who aren't related, John Troyer, and then they add to it competitive edge, Tyler Irvine, Ryan Honeycutt, Mitch Lendensky, Logan Rogers, so some big names from competitive, basically the top of their order. And then you throw that in with the veteran defensive players, the pitcher, Justin Mucciarelli, and Ryan McClanahan. And then the 4th major team is going to be called Juneau Athletics this year. It's the MPT team from the past with a bunch of young players from the AA division. Looks like Jonah's going to do the pitching. The veterans are Harvey, Bennett. Who else we got? Chad Mullins joins them. Andrew Collins, Donnie Walsh is back. And then, just a bunch of young guys. Cade Christensen from out west, Matt Mosel from S&E, Jacob Clifton. There's some Chick-fil-A guys here. So we're going to get started with Josh. You're going to pick in order. If you want to see a roster, just tell me. I'll scroll it to the roster. But who would your top 4? Whereas now Nitro Circus, right, and some AA teams have a legitimate chance of scoring enough points to be in the top 4. But we're going to assume the major teams finish in the top 4, so we're going to rank them first, 1 through 4.
Yeah, I think the way you have it is the way that I'd rank them in terms of with Resi, Sonny's, Rufex, and in Juneau. And I think there's a lot of Rismondo won it last year in pretty convincing fashion, although it did go to an if game. And like you mentioned, they got better by adding Bubba back to the group and Jason Matusik. So really hard to put anyone above them right now. Sonny's, I think they got a little stronger, and they were there and forced that if game last year in Major World Series, and they added guys like Bill Pinkham, who's an absolute warrior, Bama, who's a player. I got to play with him last year a bit, and he's a talented guy, and so they're looking pretty solid. And then you've got Rufex, who's, I mean, they're an already gritty team, especially that core. They want to win and compete more than anyone, or just as much as anyone. And then they add guys from competitive edge. They're very similar fashion. They want to, those guys want to compete and they want to win. And so I think if they're able to gel well with those, coming in with, again, just kind of a new team and gelling two groups together, they can be very dangerous at any tournament. They added a good bunch of power with Irvine and Mitch and Honeycutt. So like, I mean, that's a definitely an advantage when you're in a necessary need when you're going up to the major level. And then I put Juneau there in the 4th spot, not because they don't have talent. They definitely have talent. You just have so many new guys, so many guys that have played, that haven't played at the major level. So it's just going to be telling. It's going to be really interesting to see how they gel together. And if they're able to do that, then I think they'll compete just fine.
Yeah, that's a good Final Four there. Don Cooper, of course, you ran combat major team for, I'm going to say a decade, but you can correct me, might have been more. So you know a lot about the men's game, obviously. How would your rankings, if any, change from Josh?
I would throw Nitro Circus in this. I think Nitro Circus ends up in the top 4. And they're going to win Vegas, and you're going to have to recant. Vegas will still have been won by a major team every single year. I hear you. So yeah, I just think when you look at the combination of what they have, and it's not a knock on any of the other ones. I just think they're that talented that when you look at that roster, and there's guys on that team that I respect how they play the game. And I think, like we talked earlier about merging cultures and stuff on the women's side, it's going to take Juneau a little bit of time to get all that figured out. And sometimes when you're talking about points, by the time you get that figured out, you're just in a hole. Doesn't mean you're not a really good team. You've just dug yourself out a hole, figuring out your lineup, your roster, all of that. And you know what? Maybe it clicks for Mark right out of the gate and they win everything. I don't know, but it's just, I'm always a little worried when you blend that many new players and try to come out on top. It normally takes you a little bit of time.
Yeah, it is a weird thing. Like I think it's been 5 years in a row I have not picked number 1 correctly. So Rismondo, when I pick them here in a few minutes, they're going to have the jinx on them because it hasn't happened in the last 5 years. But I wanted to say too, you were the first person that gave Philip Washington and John Williams their shot at major, I believe.
Yeah, well, and you have to when you're small budget clubs like that, right? I mean, God bless Bryce Oliveira, same way there, Shante Granados. We were a feeder club for the rosters, and it was interesting because I left running Dan Smith's team where I bought whoever I wanted to. That's why I don't throw too many stones when teams do it, because I was with Dan for a long time, and Dan would call and say, I saw this kid, go get him, and you just did it. So when I went off on my own, you become the feeder team for those guys. So you just hope to build a relationship and keep them as long as you can. And that's what happens. We made a laundry list of guys like that are still playing, which I take pride in that of those guys. I mean, I actually got John Williams though from, we brought up him and a couple of other guys. We saw Flip clear back with Classic Glass, and it's like he stuck out like a unicorn. You're like, why is that dude playing A? That the old Sesame Street game. Which one doesn't belong with the others? And it's it was just he was that kind of elite athlete to start. And I'm sure Josh and Joel know what that's like when you're on a roster and you see the big boys coming. There's not a lot you can do to hold them off, right? And you don't want to hold players back either. If we're being honest, you want to see players flourish and succeed.
Yeah, Flip had that monster year with Classic Glass before joining Combat. 2014, I'm just guessing. I can't remember the year, but
yeah, all blends together.
Yeah, Joel, what do you got for the major division? Any differences?
I feel like you ranked them pretty accurately, 1, 2, 3, and 4, just like how they're placed solely. Because honestly, you can talk about these 4 all day long and compare it back and forth. Like Resmondo last year, not only were they the best team, but they were on fire. And they still almost lost a major. Arguably, all you had to do was call for visitors in the last game, blah, 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 blah. But and then everybody on that squad, you could arguably be like, no, my favorite player is Tyler Marshburn. That's not a bad argument. My favorite player is Bradley Jones. That's not a bad argument. And there's a guy here. His name is Kyle Pearson. What did he hit? 2,000 on accident? Like, dog, these cats are out of their minds. They're unbelievable. It's like the cookie cutter, like officer. Everyone there is great. They have one mind, one track. They have one goal. They don't want to mess around when you're playing games. They don't want to talk smack. They just want to hit your pitcher and beat you. Boom, that's it. And then Sonny's, if they could stay slightly more focused than last year, they could be one. They could be. That was the team that was gonna give them the run for their money. Everybody there can gel together. Like, yeah, you got that machismo in the yard, like pumping iron vibe there, but that works for everybody there. And then Rufex, bro, they out energy you at anything. Like, they're gonna take just whatever you can't give them anything. You'd rather hit 6 solos in a row in the first inning than score 0 against Rufex, because that'll haunt you later, like in the next 2 innings. And then Juneau Athletics, like the amount of egos on this squad and how they're gonna channel it, it's gonna be so fascinating to watch, because I'm watching Mason Farmer and Brandon Jonas. I don't know who I would start. And then, like, some people, that's easy. I'm like, not for me. I suck against both. Like, you know, it's not anything crazy. But then you got Ryan Harvey. You stand behind him, you feel like the man. You know, so it's like all 4 of those teams at any moment, like, how they can put the pounding on you. Like, I think they assembled it pretty good. I just I see Resmundo doing it again, only because they stay focused on that one. They have that one thing. It's just win that. You know, and like you hear Travis Clark hit me with like one of the funniest things, like, oh, it's just practice for the major. I'm here like, so then you win all these for fun? You're like, you know, so it's like, it's fairly interesting, you know?
Yeah, I actually have Resmondo 1, Rufex 2, Sonny's 3, MPT 4 as well. I wrote that down before the show. MPT is going to be fun to watch. Let's be honest. They got some big star power, and then you bring in the very top of the AA division last year, which are all interesting players who definitely have a chance to stick at the major level. Rufex is probably the one question mark, right? Because they may take every weekend not as practice for the major. They may take every weekend as the World Series. And now Resmondo's getting pushed. But Resmondo did win on every size field last year, which used to be the knock against them. Like, maybe they wouldn't win on the smaller fields or this or that, but they did everything last year. But history says they won't finish first. We'll see.
Rufex did something very interesting there. They had 2 very well attached clicks, and now they're gonna mesh it into one superpower click. I would love to see them rise above and become the ladder and get along and mesh their qualities together. You know, I would hate, you know, for them to fall apart. Blah, blah, blah. But like, I would like to see that. Be cool to watch. That'd be dope. I like that.
That's a great point. We're going to move on to the AA division. 6 teams. Bernie can share my screen. I just scroll through the rosters real quick. AA division, 6 teams. You see, I think I have them in alphabetical order. Classic Glass returns basically with their entire squad from last year. They add Scott Hartling, Ryan Ramirez's brother Reed, who's an outfielder, and who else? I think Kirkwood's going to do a lot of the pitching this year, which is an interesting change. But with all the lefties, they were phenomenal on baseball fields last year, and if they can do that again on the baseball fields, they're going to be right there. JBL Roofing out of Ohio based. They add Chris Aninos, Orlando Castillo, and Adam Kaminsky. I'm probably missing somebody, Kevin Miller. Basically bring back their team that had to get double dipped at the AA Worlds last year, and I think by all accounts have improved. So that's an interesting team. They got some depth this year. Nitro Circus, Bololi, Ataraxis is Chris Griner's company. They got more sponsors than anybody in the league. And they're all listed here. Chase
got jerseys for each one of them too.
Jersey. Yeah, we'll look out there. We won't even know it's Nitro Circus probably.
You'll have no clue. They're all different colors.
I mean, Cardwell was the masher at the Challenge Cup this year. Josh joins them in center field. You got Flip, you got Big John. The team's got personality. It's got star power. Like Coop said, it's 2 players from being a major team. So I think they should just get the 9th sponsor, get 2 more players, win the whole thing. But that's me. We'll move on. Sports Reach is a mix between the old Sports Reach, Precision, and now S&E. They had the 3 guys from S&E. We'll hear from Joel about that a little later. Who's the main pitcher? Blazewski or Ogletree battling for it? Would you say?
There's gonna be a mix. There's gonna be a mix. Of, they seem like they're cool with it. They already have like a little system. Like I can't even throw BP with 2 nets, so I wouldn't know what pitching is like. So like it's like I talked to them. They're like, no, we figured it out. Like they have a whole.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be.
They got the core of Precision guys with Kalki and Keski. Dagmar Payne is an up-and-coming star. Austin Andrews with the highlights in center field. Straight play. They won the A World last year out of California. No one really picked them. We did a little pool before the A Worlds, and I don't think anyone picked straight play, so it was a surprise. They got more talent than you think, but then they add all these Nitro Circus guys from last year: Chad Erickson, Brian DeZern, Cabot Van Til, Jeff Roxby, and then some big names: Brandon Streets, who won the batting title 2 years ago, Brian Zirkle, the veteran center fielder, Daniel Heron, who's up and coming, Tyler Dickens. Like, it might be a perfect mesh, right? A World champs added to some veteran AA players. We'll see how that goes. And then, of course, West Point, they're going to give me a hard time again. No one's picking them to win this and that, but here they were. They beat Rufex last year in their first game or second game. Almost won, they were in it on Monday, let's just say, at the AA Worlds.
They had a great world.
Yeah, they make some tweaks with Justin Gregory, who had the big season a couple of years ago offensively. Nick Canfield had a big year last year, and Kyle Johnson,
picked up Kyle Fisher.
Level.
Kyle Fisher's back.
Oh, they picked up Kyle Fisher.
Yep.
Good
Kyle
point.
Fisher, huh?
Yeah. So we're going to go to Joel to rank the 6 AA teams in order. I'm going to click on AA here. On the screen, you can see the 6 teams. How would you rank these teams? And believe me, I tried to do this and I wrote it down, but I'm not real confident in my picks.
I'm up.
Yeah, you're up.
Okay. Nitro.
Don't forget about your loaded team.
Nitro and Sports Reach is 1 and 1. I think we're both at the top. Like I think out of 10, I think out of 12, it'll go 6 and 6. There's 2. You guys, there are like 5 of the best third basemen, and you guys have 2 of them. Like it's like okay, let's just throw them all over. Usually you want to fill your whole infield up. You guys have 4 third basemen and a bunch of people that can catch and hit the ball super duper far. How do you funnel that into like one way? Like if you guys figure that out, you guys will be unstoppable even to the major teams. And then you got us, which I don't want to, toot my own horn, but that defense is out of control. Who you want to hit it to on our team? Who do you want to be out by? And then number 3 would definitely come as JBL, because man, those dudes, it's like Carucci's rejects. They got a chip on their shoulder and they just want to come after everybody for no reason. Like it's awesome. Like I love it.
Joel, you're right. I think they had 9 guys that had MPT experience last year. And now they had.
But they got more. Chris Aninos, Dombrowski, who was that? David Johnson, Radich. Radich was the man. Chris Aninos he was the MVP for the major. like, what more do you want? Yeah. Get out of here. You're out of here. Like I'm super. Like they got a chip on the shoulder. They're ready to roll.
How would you score 8, 9, and 10 then?
8, 9, and 10. I gotta go West Point. West Point. They're just so many people. They talk so much, and then they end up on top. And I'm like, why do we keep underestimating them? Because Alicia's doing a great job over there. And then you got straight play. You can't sleep on those guys. And then Classic Glass. You saw Classic Glass. At any moment, they just put the whooping on everybody put together. Like they just gotta. Every single team on the AA all they gotta do is their job. It's not whether they can or they can't. Everyone there can ball. It's when it comes that time. Can you hit the single, turn it into a double, get some runs going? Can't you get the momentum? What are you gonna do when you're down by 20 in the first inning? You're just gonna be like, well, we'll go 2-2 this tournament. Like, no, like nobody in AA does that. Everybody comes after you no matter what. And then you can't complain because Resmondo will almost lose to an E team, and then they'll beat everyone through the losers bracket and then win the tournament. So like I can't even complain about
Myrtle
that,
Beach.
about how many games. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the 6 AA teams. They're going to be fun to watch. Let's be honest. There isn't a team here that they all have. Even West Point has their own style of play. You could almost say, and it is an entertaining brand. Josh,
Yeah.
what do you got? What do you got for the AA division?
Yeah, I got Sports Reach is absolutely number 1. They're loaded. They should be a major team. Like honestly though, that team is always Sports Reach always like I enjoy competing against them and I love watching them because the group of the precision guys and then you add a few the S&E with Joel and with Camphor and what have you, like I see them gelling really well and they're just gritty, right? And so I do think they're up there, and I think JBL's up there. JBL, you have to give it to them. They got double dip last year, but they were a very consistent team all year last year. They've got dang near their entire team back and adding a couple pieces, as you guys mentioned, and they're gonna gel. Like they get along everybody really well, so they're gonna be there, and they're gonna be really tough all year long. Straight play is gonna be really interesting. Honestly, I mean. Straight play is going to be interesting. They've got a phenomenal sponsor. I had some conversations with him in this past offseason. I think he's really doing some good stuff, and I hope he's in it for the long haul. He says he is, and I really hope he is. Like that, we need good sponsors like that. And I think he's doing a great job. Kudos to them for winning A Worlds last year. I think they're going to be tough. I mean, all these teams are going to be tough, and Alicia is no exception there. Like West Point's going to be really, really good. She always puts a good team together. But yeah, I think I got Sports Reach, then little JBL, then Straight Play, top 3. I think Classic Glass is Brady Stewart's a good friend of mine, and he and I we were talking last year a lot about they just kind of underperformed, but the talent's there, and they proved that at the conference championship. They won it, and they went out and won it. And so the talent's there, and if they click, they can be dangerous. So I'll go them with 4, West Point 5, and us 6.
All right. I don't think anyone believes your 6 pick there, but okay. We're going to go to Don Cooper. What do you got for the AA? I think we know you got Nitro number 1.
So I'm going to go a different route on this. Sports Reach and Nitro have no chance to win the AA because they'll both be major teams by July. And it frees up West Point to win the AA, the true AA team in this group.
There you go. I wrote down JBL. Maybe that's a controversial pick. I think Nitro, like I said, I think they're 2 players away from the major division. That doesn't mean they're going to be the highest finishing points in the AA. They very well could be. I'm going to go with JBL 1, Nitro 2, Sports Reach 3, Straight Play 4, which is the 8th seed, Classic Glass 9, and West Point 10. Like last year, you could almost shuffle those top 6 pretty good. We'll move on to the A division real quick. Bay Area Legends leads the 12-team A division, which, as we talked about, is absolutely full of AA talent. And Bay Area Legends, no exception. They've retooled, but they've got some great names in there. Fun players to watch: the Mario Morales, the Isaac Gonzalez, Joe Dorton to add some serious power to this team. Trey Porter, who played with Chick-fil-A and Smash It. John Jones on the mound. It looks like they have some talent from the Smash It team mixed with some Bay Area / guys that used to play with Bay Area, like Joe Dorton. Second team here, this is alphabetical order. Cheap Suits adds Brandon Trailer, Ken Doobie running the outfield, Chris Hansen, who said he retired. He's coming back for his 17th year. Some veterans on the mound. Curtis Stewart joins them as well. An interesting team. Should probably they're probably going to play a West Coast schedule. Dirty Vegas from Texas retools. They add some West Coast presence with Jared Hunt, Nick Day, Buckshot. Don't know how much pitching he'll do. Eric Canby. He's played major and AA. I-57 Roofing from Illinois is the old Beaches team who pulled off all of those upsets last year. They retool with S&E's Jacob Hoskins, Mitch Carriger on the mound, I assume. Orlando Oliveira, who was absolutely crushing the ball at the AA and the major this year. Dante Broom, defensive player from Bay Area in the California. So an interesting team here, moving up from B to A. Give them credit for doing that. Legends, new team out of Oklahoma. You got Jason Branch in there, so you know they're going to be tweaking on this roster all year long. Daniel Alvera, pitcher, was mentioned earlier. Billy Sanders, big power hitter. Lonnie Cheatwood from Texas. So kind of a Texas, Oklahoma. Taylor Cobb from Competitive Edge. He's had some huge on-base seasons. LSR's got a big schedule for an A team. Look at that schedule. Like pretty much everything, even starting in the Sin City. LSR was one of the top A teams last year. They add Frankie Fisk, the hitter from Epic, Jager Harjo, Justin Luther from Chick-fil-A. Yeah, Ty Cobb. So it's an interesting mix. I wonder how this all came together.
Matt Brady, Drew Hall, Frank Fisk, Cromie, the whole
Matt
thing.
Brady. So Mike Lacey, Reggie Smith from he had a conference team the last 2 years, Jason and Ian. So some big sponsors with some deep backgrounds. Nally's joins the conference. They were a big non-conference B team a few years ago. I think they won two conference tournaments in 1 year as a non-conference team. So they try to piece it back together. Spencer Washington's that guy, that pitcher that got a cup of coffee there with Rosmondo. NFM Lending from Arizona. They added Jordan Spalding. They have a lot of players back from last year that made the major. Zach Walters, Maribel. I think Mike Gibson is actually hurt. Johnny Sierra is just a raw talent who's actually got some experience now. Cole Patterson returns to the conference as a pitcher. And then Prime Time was a #1 A team in points last year. The core of their team's back with Rod Armour, led by Ira Brown, power hitting Alonzo Fields. Sean Omer, big left-handed bat, joins them. Tanai Alston for some leadership from Chick-fil-A. So an interesting ads there. And then Rebel out of Michigan. Looks like a pretty nice schedule there as well. John Franklin, Tyler Wiles from S&E. Hopefully he's healthy now. Mike Snyder, Clayton Farrar. Just a collection of the old Rebel guys with some tweaks for sure on the roster. Jared Kashner from Chick-fil-A. And then Seminoles does return. There was some question there, but they did return. This team looks a lot like the team that finished second at the A last year and most of their Challenge Cup team from Oklahoma. Oliver Oldo had a big year power-wise. John David Harris, J.D. Harris on the mound had a nice season. So in the final A team, the 12th is Van Wert Frickers. Give them credit. They won the B World. A lot of those guys won the Challenge Cup B division with Ohio, and they returned to conference with a few tweaks. We mentioned them before. Drew Cordacrax, big up-and-coming player. They had Drew Smith from West Point and Joe Horsley and a couple others. So who we got going first? Don, you got anything to say about I don't know how much you know about the men's A.
Yeah, the A's, I've been so far removed from a little bit of it. The one thing I will say is I think, I'm close to the Prime Time team. I love the ads they made. this year. You know, just a couple of the ads they made seem like it fit really well with what they're doing. And I just have so much respect for a program like that stays around for this long, D-Dub. You know, the guys like that and Classic and folks like that. So that was one thing. I'm just really excited to see what they do. And the other one that's weird to me, just because I know some of the kids that are on there, and I think there's some young kids and that are getting now to the point where they're either going to make it or they're going to end up forever toiling in A, is the Rebel team. You know, there's a couple of folks on there that, you know, 2 years ago we were watching, you know, from a contract standpoint and kind of going, okay, are they going to take the next step? So I'm always curious just to see kind of, you know, where those type of players land. Do they take the next step or do they just toil in A, which there's nothing wrong with playing in A, as we all know. But, you know, most of those guys have aspirations to play somewhere else. So I guess for me, those are the two teams I'm probably going to spend the most time watching. And then Cheap Suits, because they're out here in Cali. I know so many of those guys. I always watch them. But I'm excited for those three teams just to watch them.
Yeah, if you like to play softball, try to get on prime time, because those guys play basically, if it's not 4 weekends a month, it's 3. For sure.
They'll play pickup, BSC, U-Trip, WSL. They don't care.
Yeah, they're into it. So Joel, you're next on the A. What do you think on a quick ranking 11 through 18 out of those teams on the screen there?
I'm a little biased, you know, like when it comes to like I was gonna go LSR, Beachies, Primetime, Rebels, Seminoles. But the thing is, like, I've seen every single one of these cats give everyone a run for their money. There's no one here that like lays down. Like, they will be down 30 and they'll be like, okay, you want to be like that? They'll make it the game interesting the very next. They won't go out like that. They'll make you play 7 innings. They'll come addictive. Those are annoying games to play against. I just played with Beachies like a couple months ago. Those cats, and now they have my boy Hoskins and Oliveira. Not for nothing, I hope one of them gets the home run title, because that team is gonna be great if they could like I said, if they could like gel together and like have a little system. They're a little raw, but LSR looks like they want to win this year, so they're putting something real hardcore in there. And then Primetime, I don't know how many times Primetime's made it to the Final Four or like the last part of the A. Like they're super close to win. And Rod, don't forget Rod is, in my opinion, the best bulldog pitcher in the game. That cat can hit you an inside the Parker and pitch you 37 innings in a row, not tired. Like, he's incredible. And Primetime's just great for the game. I love that they're always there. But Beachies, LSR, like, it's a little soft spot for me. I'm rooting for them. Seminoles, they've been around for I don't even know how long. They don't quit. They come at you however they get you, and they're just like, you gotta put it on them or you'll lose. So like the A is pretty hard. And Frickers, we played against them like 2-3 times. I did not enjoy any of that. I've like very rarely, usually if you have an A team and you're a double A or a major team and you have an A team in the bracket, you'll be like, okay, let's loosen it up. Not this time. Any A team you get, you're still like, oh, we gotta put it on them too. So it's like it's good competition. Dirty Vegas. Oh, how did I forget Dirty Vegas? Dirty Vegas is, they're up there. It's pretty evenly matched. I like this. I like where the A stands.
I think one thing Joel said, D-Dub, is that like, when I started back in the day, on a B team and an A team coming up, and we played long haul, we played Smith, you just got your ass handed to it and you moved along. And those guys, threw their lineup out. They got their 12th and 13th guy a couple of swings against you. Those days don't exist anymore. Like Joel said, every one of these A teams, especially with home run rules and everything else, if you decide to throw out a goofy lineup to get somebody playing time, what you find is you're in the losers bracket. I mean, that's the biggest thing I think in the last, say, 7 to 10 years that's changed. Is there's nothing free anymore.
You're on the wrong side of the upset now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these A team, this is the most double A talent we've ever seen in the A team, and it's spread out. It's spread out over the whole A division. So, Josh, what do you have for 11 through 18?
Yeah, I tell you, like, look at this list of teams, and I'm excited to watch A Worlds, honestly.
Right.
Hopefully we're there playing with them. But no, like, I think speaking for this weekend, like Dirty Vegas, don't sleep on them. You're talking about this playing this weekend here in Vegas. Like they've got we talked about I-57 Beachy's, but Dirty Vegas has got a good roster. And I think they're just as capable as anybody. But if I had to give, I'm going to go Prime Time as the top 8 team. And then I'm going to go LSR and Dirty Vegas. And that's not sleeping on 57, like Roofing Beachy. I think to what Joel mentioned, they're just as capable as anybody of any given weekend catching fire and knocking some teams off. They 100% are. It'll be interesting to see Nally's come out. They haven't played together since that B run that you mentioned, DW. But I think those guys are really close. And so there's chemistry there already, which could be an advantage for them. And then as Coop mentioned with Rebel, like Rebel's got a lot of these players that, like, if they click and if they have some good seasons individually, then yeah, they could have some upsets and they could find themselves here at the top of the division. Frickers, like you mentioned, taking the jump up to A after winning the B is fantastic. Love seeing this. You see the team climb the ranks. DW, can you click on their roster real quick, Van Wert Frickers?
Plus, it's the coolest name in softball. Van Wert Frickers. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, so Van Wert, if you can see it, yeah, they added Jordan Patterson, Drew Smith, and Joe Horsley from West Point.
Yep.
A lot of their core definitely returns, at least 6 to 8 guys.
Yeah. So Dallas Allen is a guy that plays here in Columbus. He's from Grove City. Shout out to him. He plays on my league team. Just a gritty ball player. Love watching.
I think he was MVP at the Challenge Cup. I think, or maybe it was B World.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's such a gritty player. He's fun to play with. He really is. Love playing with him. But the name that I wanted to highlight here is Greg Popatok. Like, if Greg Popatok is on this roster next year, great for the sponsor for keeping him. But he absolutely needs to be on a AA team at the minimum next year. This guy's already AA ready. I think he just moved to North Carolina from Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. He plays shortstop for them. Left-handed hitter, leads off for him. I think he hit last year. Again, didn't have a ton of at-bats. I think he had 80 or to 100 at-bats and hit like 750 or 760 or something like that, but did it with very little home runs. The guy's a hitter. He's a ball player. And so if anyone's looking for a shortstop next year, they need to keep an eye out for him. Because I'm sure Joel's getting ready to be down here soon. So
I should know this. Is Drew Quartercrack kin to Randy Quartercrack?
I want to say
he's not.
Okay.
Yeah. So Randy's out of Columbus, Ohio too, and actually
his
son. Yeah, Randy's son is he's a pitcher for Otterbein, which is a Division III school here in Columbus, Ohio. So
I didn't think his name was. I should know this, but I was thinking. I don't think Randy's son's name was Drew, but it got me wondering. Just Ohio and that last name.
Randy's son has started playing softball though, and so that may be in the future. And then his daughter, Randy's daughter, is a stud at Ohio State fast pitch.
Yeah, so everyone knows Randy Quartercrack's one of the great power hitters in the 90s. Played with Steels when Steels returned. When they lost the team for a year, they came back. Drew Quartercrack was the main power hitter for Steels. My 11 through 18, this is bulletin board material for all you 8 teams out there. I got LSR seeded 11th, top 8 team. Legends, I got second. Brandon Miller putting that team together. Dirty Vegas 3, Bay Area 4, which is 14th. 15th, I-57. I think they're the wild card. They could go up or down. Prime Time 16th, Rebel 17th, Cheap Suits making the 18th spot of the major. And then Nally's, Seminoles, Van Wert, who's another wild card, and NFM. Obviously, those 4 teams could jump into that top 18 easily. But that's it. I know we're going kind of long here. So, Josh, I know you got to get back to work. Final thoughts for you, and then Joel, and then Don, if you still have time, we'll talk a little women's.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. Yeah, sorry, I appreciate you having me. No, listen, I'm super grateful for Chris Greinert and Jace Martell having me on their squad this year with Nitro Circus, and in Rob Roop and Lee Trotter for allowing me to be part of Suncoast again this year. And then please, everyone remember April is Autism Awareness Month. if there's any way that you can give back or give to that community and keep them in mind, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. If you need to drop off, I understand. I appreciate you coming.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
And good luck. We'll see you this weekend.
Thank you. See you there.
Joel. Yeah. Joel, any final thoughts? You guys start at the Hall of Fame, obviously.
Oh yeah. No, shout out to all my boys in the sports reach. I can't believe we're gonna do this together. It's about time. All the people, all my DeMarini boys, all of my boys in Mayas, to the women's, like Anna Schultzler. I've been playing with her in the major co-ed thing. She's a baller. And then the Rogue squad, they got a fellow Marine of mine, Bailey. She's gonna get her shot this year, bro. I'm super excited for that. Once you mentioned that Rogue squad, like that was it's gonna get exciting. It's gonna be awesome.
Rogue is the exciting new team on the women's side for sure.
Yeah,
Everybody wants.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of up and coming. It's gonna be great. I'm super. Thank you for having me again. I'm super excited to do this and more.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate you stopping by. And Don, actually, just real quick, we forgot the B division. I had Thunder as the #1 B team, Eli Real second out of Ohio, Pure out of Texas third, and Cutthroat out of California fourth. Obviously, those teams will make roster tweaks throughout the year and stuff, and who knows what they'll end up. Maybe one of them will even have a shot at the top 18. Where I don't know if they'll have to become an A team if they make the top 18 or not, but that's the B division. Don, I wanted to focus on the women's division. If Bernie can share my screen, those are the major teams. 5 this year. Incognito, they were a major at the end of last year, I believe, too.
They were, yep. Daryl took a major at the end last year, yep.
So these are all 5 returning major teams. Tell us about some of the big player swaps and what you think. Obviously, Derby Girls won the points last year, and Team 24 won that championship. So my question to you, real quick, before we get into the rankings or talking about women, the championship game last year between Derby Girls, it was an if game. Team 24 came through the losers bracket. I know you finished second. I know it was heartbreaking. But as the off season is gone, are you able to look back at that as what I think was the greatest women's game of all time in Slowpitch?
Yeah, we said that walking off the field, and I always hate saying things like that because I've never seen every women's game, right? So right. You go back to Empress Pizza and stories I've heard about, the Ohio Pro League and stuff. So I say that with no shame on those teams. I'd have loved to come out on the right side of that, but when you talk about we were dead and gone in the top of the 7th and came all the way back and take a big lead, they're dead and gone. The bottom of their order completely comes through. You look back and say, what would I have done different in that game as a coach? Don't know if I would have. You look at what they did over there, that Rodney did over there. He pulled every one of the right strings at the right time as well. So, you'd like to be on the right side of that, but when you really look at it, what an incredible game with a walk-off. And, we've kept a streak alive that one of those 2 teams have won, every major going back to the last couple of years at Disney, and we've been double dipped 3 times at it. If you look at what, we're 3 wins away from maybe the greatest streak of all time. And, they're a couple wins away from the greatest streak of all time. So it's come out to those 2 teams and those core players. And so, tip your hat to what Katie Fricky and Rodney have done over there. They struggled all year long. That might be the only tournament they won last year.
You might be right, unless they went maybe Arkansas.
If they won something, maybe Little Rock, but they had struggled all year, and again, they just find a way to win there. So yeah, I agree with you. It sucked. I'm not gonna tell you I walked out of there skipping D-Dub, but when you do look back, I've watched the replay of it. It's very few times where I watch replays, but it's it's an exciting game all the way around. Talent wise, I think you've seen Monster, La Familia. Lady S and I went out and did whatever they want. We've definitely got 2 monster big budget clubs now that can do what they want to get which players they want. So if they don't have a player at a position, shame on them, because they got to do what they wanted to do. Daryl,
real quick, looking at the Derby Girls roster, because I haven't really studied it. I mean, I see a lot of the same names. What are your changes?
Well, Tara's gone after 12 and a half years of, being our pitcher and our leader. And yeah, she went to Incognito. And, been obviously one of our mainstays going back. This is our 23rd year. 2 name changes, Extreme, then to Derby. So I think in 23 years. So, Tara was here, I believe, for 12 and a half years of that. So, and been one of the best that's to ever do it. So, I think our big changes are obviously adding Randy Pauly to come into that pitching spot. It's always tough following somebody that's as great as Tara's been and a leader that Tara's been, but super excited about having Randy and so it frees up some more time for Amanda to pitch more. And then Terry Ross. I have legitimately wanted Terry Ross for a decade. Yeah. I have begged her for a decade, and she's been very loyal to that group back there. When Terry Ross is healthy, you can make a case Terry Ross is top 5 players in the game. So to have her, it's great. Aaliyah Flores is an interesting player. She'll be the future in the next 5 years. Shortstop from the University of Oklahoma, Boise State in Oklahoma, can pick it and catch it and do everything. She's the kind of a baby shiflet on the way. So we're excited. Again, we have a philosophy of, man, no more than 2 or 3 changes if you can do it, just because we've talked a lot about culture, and Joel knows what's that like, trying to find culture. So if you can say with 2 or 3 changes, it really works, Yeah. The Team 24 team, like we talked about earlier, man, they scare the living heck out of me because they got hungry kids. They've got, in my opinion, one of the most complete, if not the most complete, all-around player in Chelsea Showers, who she's the kid that you look at her and you go, man, she can't play right field. And then she goes to right field and plays it, like Roberto Clemente, and then, comes in and hits like Willie Mays. And everybody goes, how does she get it done? I'm like, I don't know, but it's not a 1 week off thing. It's every single week. And then you add in the young kids that Dirty had, DW, Holly's old team, that are just players, man. They run all over the yard. They have high energy kind of kids. And then, he brought some other kids that have been waiting for a chance up.
What is Serene Johnson's role on this team?
I don't know. I think Serene's coming in as kind of a senior mentor, maybe to help out Rodney and probably still take a swing. I'm sure Serene can still hit. So I'm sure she's coming in to help Rodney out and do all that. And obviously all the years that she was, highly successful with the Enough Said teams, she knows how to win. Her rosters know how to win. So, I think that's probably the most intriguing overall roster right there.
My favorite player is Angelia Jones.
Yeah. All the skills in the world.
I caught her at a tournament where she just couldn't make an out, and it wasn't just singles; it was doubles,
home everything. Yeah. And so I think you look at the La Familia Monza team. On paper, they're supposed to run. They should rule every single team they play every single weekend. The only team they should have to struggle with is Rosmondo, and Tom thinks I'll beat Rosmondo 6 out of 10 times. So. And they may. I mean, they're, like I said, it's handpicked, it's ready to go, it's turnkey. So now you just got to show up and play and see if it is all of those things. So, Uber about of power.
Alyssa Schreiner, the
all world everything.
Biggest name of a lot of big names, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, that team's just loaded, and there's no doubt about it.
Yep. And then Incognito's got a bunch of the Team 24 players.
Yeah, Incognito, Daryl just knows how to get the most out of what he's got, right? I mean, Ashley Mack, obviously a phenomenal mom, spends a lot of time with her kids. If she was at a point where all she had to do was play softball like some of the other girls, she's so far number 1, there isn't a number 2. She's just crazy talented. It's just, she's got her priorities right, man. She's an amazing mom. They chase their kids around the park. I love seeing what they're doing. So, you got to tip your hat for someone doing the right thing.
And then Lady S&I, did they
retooled?
They picked up some of the players from their minor league team.
Yeah, the minor league team that was really hard to beat, and I think beat them more times than they beat them. And I mean, tip your hat, you make the adjustments. But Alyssa Derrick, super up, not even up and coming anymore. She's here.
Yeah.
Bernie Tonito is still one of my favorite players because you can legitimately put her at pitcher, center field, shortstop, leadoff, second base. She can play every single position on the field. So I mean that team, like I said, they went out and handpicked it and built it, and God bless them. And it's loaded. I mean, it's the most loaded teams we've ever seen.
Yeah, this major division looks stacked.
So. It is. There's no free. There's nothing free.
No. Jordan Middlesdorf, another one of my favorite players.
Yep.
So we don't have a AA division.
We don't. Nope.
The A division. Well, let's look real quick at the TBDs.
Yeah.
So are these potential AAs?
I think if you look at the rosters of the NTL team, there's a whole lot of players, that have been there, done that. The Chaos roster has been in flux. I really haven't looked at it lately. But I mean, if you take a look at this team, you've got, Kylie Wolf was on the team that won A Worlds. You've got a lot of girls on there, on this roster that, can play. Lee Campbell played for me for many years. Great player, great leader. So I mean, it's TBD's probably where they belong, D-Dub. It's a tweener team, right? You don't want to commit to A for them, and you don't want to bury them there. The Chaos team obviously is a big turnover because they lost so much of that talent up to S&I. But there's still a whole bunch of talent there.
It's good to see they still had a team. When you lose your main player. It's good for the game. And then Rogue is the
and this is Rogue is the, like Joel said, there's oodles of talent here. There's Kamari Washington, I think, is just gonna go to the moon. Bailey has all kinds of upside, crazy upside to her. I love Kelly Kaneshiro. She's a local girl up here, can play everywhere, great Division I player. Same thing with Maggie DeWall, all Pac-12 player at Oregon State, can run all over the place. She seems like she's really starting to figure out how to hit. So, I mean, this is a team that could be, they legitimately could be major to A. This is one of those, depending on how it goes, you could have a team here that's quite capable of being a major team and, could still need another year of seasoning and stuff and could end up as an A team. It's the wild card team of the whole group.
Yeah, so Rogue is basically the Chaos of 2024, you would say.
Great. I think that's a great comparison.
Yeah, and then just touching on is this the A?
Yeah. So, DB Brand won it last year. If you don't have respect for D Brown, talk about a girl that will drive 900 miles, umpire every day to have enough money to pay entry fees, run a car wash, apple sale, lemonade stand. All of us that bitch about what it takes to run a softball team should go spend a day in D Brown's life. That's why I have so much respect for her and what she does. The Prime Smash It team, I think that team is going to shock a bunch of people. It's got a blend of, and the roster still, I think, a little bit in flux. they're still adding some players and looking, but it's got some of the Canadian national team members on it. It's a West Coast based team. It's got both the Goldbrinson sisters that are, on Team Canada, Angela Funamari, longtime AA player, a major player. So, that team, I think, is going to take a couple weeks to get gelled. They literally have put that team together, D-Dub, in the last 20 days.
Is the Prime in the prime time, or?
I don't believe so.
No. Okay.
I don't believe so. So yeah, that's that team. And then, Sadler, love him to death, man. Every year he spends his money and puts a team on the field and runs around and does it. So I think you throw a blanket over all of these teams right now till they figure it out. Like I said, DB, I always feel bad for because she loses 2 or 3 players every year just because, again, they're 22 girls in a room and doing it on a budget, but she finds a way to do it every year.
Right. Yeah, it's a great rundown. I appreciate it. I know the show went long. I think we covered a lot of information. Hopefully people enjoy the show, and we'll see you in Vegas.
I'll be there.
Days. I think the women start at 4:30, maybe. The men start at 10 a.m. Friday. and both end up on Sunday. They're working on some remote announcing, where I'm not saying it's going to be for Vegas, but going forward, there should be someone on the big women's games and someone on the men's games announcing on USSSA Live in the near future, if not this weekend. Joel, anything about the women's? You got? I'm putting you on the spot. Like,
Coop, you need to be on every single show, because there's so much that you just described that, like, bro, not a lot of us knew about that. Like, yo, that's awesome. Like, every single thing that you just broke down Barney style,
an
I appreciate.
encyclopedia of women's softball. And
because I gave up on the men, Joel. I got tired of y'all. I went to women a decade ago and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Listen, I like complaining more than the women, you know, so like, I agree with you. I agree. At that point, because they go over there and they just play. They shake hands and they walk away. Boom. That's it. There's no more. It's just cut and dry. It's really
when
nice
you realize that 95% of these girls are flying themselves to Vegas on their own dime this weekend, bro, if not higher. You know.
And no complaints. All the things that you just said, I would have complained about every single one of those things.
Yeah.
And none of them. You don't hear any of that from any of them.
Yeah,
V&D wins the B World. There's my B prediction, so we don't leave the B folks out. I think V&D wins the B World.
Yeah, Angry Beavers from right here in Cleveland. I believe they're based out of. You're saying V&D.
Second greatest name behind Van Fricker.
Van Wert.
Van Wert, sorry.
That's a lot of B teams and
a lot of B teams. The momentum. Yeah, I mean, like I said, and there's more teams out here in the West, like we talked about, D-Dub, but we can never get this schedule thing figured out, that are sitting on the sidelines that would love to join.
Yeah, six B teams are all from the West, 6 out of 7.
Yep.
But yeah, I appreciate you coming in, Don. I know it was early on the West Coast.
No problem.
Your knowledge of the game is second to none, so we appreciate it. And we'll see you in Vegas. Joel, we'll see you in Florida. People, remember, conferenceussa.com. Nobody goes there. I want to show you one thing, if Bernie can share my screen.
Thanks for your service too, Joel. If I don't see, because I won't be in Florida, but thank you for everything you've done and your teammates have done for us, brother.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, if you look up here under news, there's the Women's Weekly Update. And I feel like nobody knows about it. It's still got last year's stuff in it, but it shows you who won each tournament, top 4. It shows you the conference points. It shows you the computer rankings every week. It has links to the advanced stats, the league leaders, and then every single tournament from the year is in here, the major all the way back to Vegas. So we update this. I update this. I try to after every tournament. It'll probably be after the Hall of Fame, though, because of the short time in between. But check out the top of Conference USSSA, all these drop downs. There's news, tournament reports, the YouTube link, men's and women's standings, schedules, past events, statistics. And if you're a team still looking for a player, click on the free agents. Free agents will fill in here in a second. You'll see all the men by division, and then down here at the bottom is the women's by division. So I want to thank Bernie in the background, Joel, Josh, Don for coming in, and we'll see you guys in Vegas in 2 days. Joel, see you in Florida.